We welcome you to ACC Network Basketball presented by Food Lion. The Syracuse Orange taking on the Clemson Tigers from Littlejohn Coliseum in Clemson, South Carolina. And welcome everybody, along with Jordan Cornette. I'm Doug Sherman, so glad you could join us here this afternoon. We've got about a month until Selection Sunday. Syracuse currently on the wrong side of the bracket, while Clemson is in. This is a big game for both teams, Jordan.
Doug, you said it. There's only about a month left of basketball. Not a lot of opportunities or runway in front of you to improve your resume. As for Clemson, they're about tracking at a 10 seed in Lenardi's bracket. They want to improve that seeding. For Syracuse, they simply want to enter the conversation of being a bubble team. A win here on the road goes a long way for the Orange.
Well, for Syracuse, they need their Illinois transfer, Alan Griffin, to play well. He does a lot of things and has had an instant impact since getting to Central New York.
Doug, when he arrived in that Syracuse program and put on the jersey, first game I saw, I said, okay, he's established himself as a three-point specialist, but I know there's more to the game. And boy, has Griffin evolved throughout the season. In attack mode inside the arc. Defensively, though, is where I've been most impressed. Deflecting passes, getting in passing lanes. The team feeds off his defensive energy.
For Clemson, the man who does it all is their senior leader, Amir Sims.
He hasn't historically had big games versus Syracuse in this zone, but he's primed for one in this one. Clemson at their best offensively when they're playing through Sims. At the top of the key versus that zone, passing over the defense with his size, at the high post, at the short corner. He makes everyone around him better. He's got to be aggressive hunting his.
It should be fun. The Orange against the Tigers. The tip-off coming up next from Littlejohn, only on the ACC Network. Back inside Littlejohn Coliseum, moments away from the tip between Syracuse and Clemson. With Jordan Cornette, I'm Doug Sherman, and as we talked about, Joe Lunardi has Syracuse on the outside looking in, heading into action today. 9 spots away from getting into the field, with work certainly to be done, Jordan.
Opportunities in front of you. When you're running out of them, you have to max out on. This is Syracuse team that matches up nicely against Clemson. It's going to be a matter of who can play the type of game they want to. Syracuse wants this one to be a high-scoring affair. Clemson wants to slow it down, play it in the 50s. If Syracuse can play the type of game they want, this goes a long way for this team.
And there's a look at the 76-year-old Hall of Famer whose team is 10-5 this year. He is clearly the man at Syracuse University. He arrived on campus as a freshman in 1962, and Jordan, he has barely left ever since. Meanwhile, Brad Brownell, the winningest coach in Clemson history.
Two great coaches, two guys that do it in different ways, but in a lot of ways they both lead with defense. As much as we've talked about the Syracuse team and who they are offensively and how bad this zone has been, you dive inside the numbers, and we'll get a chance to talk about that. But defensively, they are still making their mark, this Orange team.
Clemson began the season 9-1, had a COVID pause that they got sideways during, came out, dropped 3 in a row, all by blowout. But then they got their competitive edge back before the Louisville game, and have since won 2 out of 3, trying to make it 3 out of 4, heading into today's tip-off against Syracuse. The orange and white, the Tigers in white, the orange rather in orange, and we are underway. They will jump it again as that ball went out of bounds.
We gonna play basketball?
3.
We gonna play a game?
Looks like we've had enough of that if they can retrieve the basketball.
Well, if
Clarence Armstrong, the official. And there you see Alex Hemingway in the starting lineup once again for Clemson. But this is a Tigers team, Jordan, where Brad Brownell is going to go deep into that bench.
Yeah, and he's going to just try and throw different looks. But if he finds a formula for success, and you can see early on he's trying to find Sims the basketball, it might be a game where they log heavy minutes for the first 5.
Meanwhile, true to form, Coach Boeheim has trimmed his rotation as the season has gone on. And other than the starting 5, we're only assured of seeing Kadari Richmond off the bench in this one. Buddy Boeheim for 3.
It's a beautiful sign for the Orange out of the gates. The ability to confidently shoot that three ball. They're going to take a lot of them. Now the only trepidation is not fall in love with the shots beyond the arc, but have a nice balance. But Buddy Boeheim getting it going early.
Nick Honor, here's Hemingway. Draws a crowd, give it back to the Fordham transfer. And number 5, Hunter Tyson was so good last time out. Had a brilliant second half in the win over North Carolina on Tuesday. Honor off the mark. Ball comes to Clemson, and the layup by Clyde Trapp.
For a Clemson team that doesn't rebound it particularly well, there's going to be opportunities provided in this zone to generate second chance.
Marek Dolezaj to Quincy Guerrier, driving on Sims. And that'll go to the backcourt. And out of bounds, a turnover, back to Clemson. Well, there is what Clemson is looking at right now. Joe Lunardi currently has them as a 10 seed. This is a team, Jordan, as you know, that was ranked about a month ago in the AP as high as number 12 in the country. So the feeling is they've got a very high ceiling, but they've got to play up to it.
Yeah, and post the COVID pause that they took, they kind of got knocked down a little bit. Win over Carolina goes a long way for them. But in a conference where teams are trying to find consistency, Clemson put it together here on their home floor.
Here's Alan Griffin, who we highlighted off the top.
It's good defense. Look at Honor working on Gerard. Got him all the way pushed out to half court.
Clemson with a basketball. And a reach-in foul against Dolezaj, his first.
That is this year's winning formula for this Clemson team, and you could argue under Brad Brownell his entire tenure there. I mean, look at the denial. That's Nick Honor all the way out at half court, not allowing Gerard to comfortably make a catch. That is the type of pressure that will lead to wins, especially today for this Tigers defense. The effort's got to be there against such a gifted opponent in this Syracuse offense that boasts 5 double-figure scores.
Honor and Trapp in the backcourt. Hemingway in the corner. There they go inside to Sims. Hemingway around and out. Sims strong on the offensive glass for 2.
Good movement offensively. A good shot begets a sublime offensive rebounding opportunity for Sims to put one back. You couldn't get it to go, but you position yourself, carve out some real estate, and Clemson's put together a nice few sequences here on their home floor.
Guerrier launches the 3 off the back iron. One and done for the Orange. Honor spotting up. He's got it.
So crucial for a struggling offense like Clemson's to pursue early offense, not allow the zone from Syracuse to congeal and make you work into half court. Confidence is starting to skyrocket for these Tigers in this last 60 seconds of play.
Joe Girard was looking for the foul call. No travel, no whistle, no nothing.
It's got to be one or the other, foul or travel. Play on, ain't your ticket.
Off the Boeheim miss, Clemson back the other way.
Can't just settle for passes around the perimeter. Got to probing dribbles, got to attack, got to hit the mid post or short corner. Bear on a short corner, didn't know what to do with it.
Third turnover early for Clemson. Griffin. A little short. There's Bear with the basketball.
It's a bad shot. That's a bad shot for a team that's struggling through some sequences to just take a highly contested 3 with no movement, no advantage gain. Wasted possession.
Beautiful stroke by Honor, the 5'10" redshirt sophomore from Orlando. Griffin off the bounce, pass to the corner, Boeheim. He's got a height advantage over Honor. Boeheim likes to go in and do that, a turnaround over Honor.
He's so smart at identifying the matchup that he has in front of him. Honor's 5'10", Boeheim 6'6". The minute he had the ball in isolation, it was 2 points. You like to see a guy exploit advantages and opportunity. Boeheim getting really good at that.
Honor from way downtown. He is feeling it.
Let me tell you, Doug, when I at Notre Dame played against the Syracuse zone 8 times in my 4 years, and it was so important to have the mid-post, the short corner, but when your guards were hitting threes, you felt like you could do anything against the zone. This is massive for the confidence of a Clemson offense that struggles in the half court to see Honor knock down 3 of them from distance.
Guerrier, no. And the Clemson defense continues to make it tough on Syracuse. Tigers up 8 with the basketball. Bear in the high post, turns, fires, and hits. 15-5, Tigers with a double-figure lead, and the Orange use a timeout. When we come back, we will have with us a distinguished guest, Craig Mobley, the first black student athlete in the history of Clemson University. ACC Network Basketball is presented by Food Lion, official grocer of the ACC. Craig Mobley arrived on the Clemson campus in the fall of 1969 as the school's first African-American scholarship student athlete recruited by the late Bobby Roberts. We are pleased to be joined now by Mr. Mobley, who played a couple of years of basketball before deciding to concentrate solely on his studies, got multiple degrees. And, sir, before we get to you, I've just got to let the audience know some of just a few highlights from a diverse and well-rounded professional life. You coached men's and women's basketball at Middlesex Community College in Massachusetts. You served as a major in the U.S. Air Force. You worked as a research chemist, and you owned a construction company. But we want to start with, what are your first recollections when you think back about integrating Clemson athletics nearly 52 years ago?
Well, I keep thinking they took down the peach baskets and they didn't have clear backboards. But the good news is that Littlejohn, we initiated Littlejohn Coliseum my first year.
Well, Craig, before I ask a question, I, as a black student athlete, former student athlete, still very much black, want to say thank you to you for being a pioneer and a trailblazer, opening the doors so people like me in the early 2000s could play the sport I love comfortably and maneuver in this world of college athletics. Looking back on that time, what does it mean to you standing here today on the doorstep of 70 years old? What does it mean to you to have become Clemson's first African-American scholarship student athlete in any sport?
You know, at the time, I would say it was a lonely experience. Put it this way, the student body and the athletes, we knew each other really well, and the athletes were more student body members black than anything else. I would have to applaud my fellow colleagues, my teammates, who made my being a teammate a really easy thing to do. But it was all the other pressures on the outside that really became an issue during the time. So I just arrived on campus in August, and that September there was a decision that had to be made because, you know, there still were, you know, we still dealing with the end of the 60s. You know, glad people landed on the moon, but we still hadn't decided how to deal with race in America. So in any case, you know, there was transition going on. I would say I was happy for the teammates I had, and I can also say this, as much as we liked to play together, there was no place we could go out and socialize together. And that's what I see that's different today, and extremely happy for that. You know, things you can do that make you more human are starting to appear on not just Clemson, but I see now throughout the ACC. So, you know, for me, it's stop looking in the rearview mirror as much as I'm seeing what's going forward these days.
as Alan Griffin makes 3 free throws. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jordan.
Craig, as you look at the student athletes of today, both white and black, and the courage it took for you early on to be a trailblazer, but looking at the student athletes today and their willingness to step up and speak against social injustice, use their platform and affect change, how does it make you feel to see this new era of student athlete?
Actually, I spent more time thinking about that, and again, it's a source of pride, and I don't know where you start. The commissioners, coaches, student body, everywhere else, because what you've done is allow the freedom of the students. And I think what helped a lot of people, and I mean on the West Coast, is to see a lot of the schools, mainly from the South, having a chance to make that expression of social justice. And, it's encouraging. I mean, to be blunt, it was good to see a lot of the white students and athletes out there doing the same thing. It's going to be one of those things you let that generation have their opportunity to see which way they're going to move the ball in that direction. But I can only be encouraged, disappointed that we still have to review these types of things. But the answer is that we should be encouraged for the youth that come behind us.
This is Craig Mobley joining us from Clemson, South Carolina. More right after this. Clemson 17, Syracuse 10, and that score certainly pleases our guest, who we're glad to still have with us, Craig Mobley. Class of 1973, the first African-American scholarship student athlete in Clemson history, and he's joining us from his home in Southern California. And Craig, we understand you're still a proud alumnus, very active in the alumni clubs out in Southern California. How does your love of Clemson manifest itself these days?
Well, Clemson is a family, and I think a lot of people that are Clemson alumni, and I'm going to shoot out something to all the Clemson alumni. I can wear my Tiger Paw all over Pac-12 territory just to irritate them. And the whole idea is that you'd be surprised all the places people actually celebrate Clemson and the Tiger Paw. So we've made the paw pretty famous there from South Carolina. But otherwise, we have pretty active clubs, and I need to give shout-out to quite a few of them. San Diego, Oceanside, Arizona, which is extremely active in the community. Los Angeles, of course. Southern California, there's one out in Inland Empire. So there are people who gather to cheer on Clemson, and, for the athletes who don't know it, and for my chances, when soccer team went to San Diego or the baseball team to Fullerton, we gathered people together. Or the basketball team played in Las Vegas or even in Anaheim. We try to get the people together, and we find that you're not all alumni. You got a lot of people just like Clemson. So it worked out well, and, it's a good thing. I think Clemson is representing all the things you would want to do, and I can't change what I said before, is that we've had some of the biggest struggles in South Carolina with race, but I think this is the same place that's going to show the world how to deal with it. And, the sports has been one of the great places to do it. So from Coach Brunell to Coach Sweeney to the other coaches, baseball, soccer, they're actually ambassadors. So what we try to do is be equal ambassadors wherever we are.
Well, as we celebrate Black History Month, Major Craig Mobley, Clemson class of 73, we thank you for your time today. We thank you for your service, and we'll let you go so you can get back to watching and rooting on your Tigers.
Thank you for everything, Craig.
1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go Tigers. Have a good one.
Again, that's Craig Mobley, who integrated Clemson athletics back in 1969. Really remarkable, Jordan.
All class, and it's people like that breaking down barriers so our world can be a better place. Forever grateful for people like Craig. Honored to have a chance to talk to him, Doug. P.J.
Hall with the bucket. Clemson up by 8, just past the midpoint of this first half. Syracuse has gone to the bench, bringing Barama Sidibe, their senior center, into the game. He's been out with a knee injury, you're right, since 4 minutes into the season. And also, Kadari Richmond has come in to play the point. Still, Orange down 8.
Let me tell you, Syracuse fans couldn't be more excited that Sidibe and Richmond are on the floor for this team. Richmond, I know a lot of people clamoring for him to get more minutes. Throw me in that camp. But Sidibe anchoring this zone defense is going to make Syracuse better here and moving forward. That is a welcomed arrival back into an orange jersey.
That is the 6th turnover for Clemson. Well, coming up next, we have college lacrosse at 4 o'clock, then back to the hardwood at 8 Eastern with Notre Dame and Georgia Tech right here on ACCN and the ESPN app. And my partner will be an interested observer in that one.
Irish winners of 4 of their last 5 of their last 6. Maybe they're turning something around here, Doug.
Well, it's been a struggle offensively for Syracuse. Last 8 possessions, 0 for 6, couple of turnovers. They get the ball into Sidibe again and draws another foul. There's a look at what the senior brings. And, you know, he really was hot and cold through his first 2.5 years, dealt with a lot of knee trouble, Jordan. But at the end of last regular season, he proved to be a force and got double-digit rebounds every game to close out the year. So there are a lot of folks in Syracuse who think if he's healthy, he can be a big difference maker.
He's length to anchor that zone defense. He brings a rugged toughness. He competes on the backboard. Those are things that are severely lacking at times when the Syracuse team struggles this season. Having him back is a huge boost for a team that is trying to get the attention of Joe Lunardi and put them into the bracketology as maybe a last 4 in, but they're so far from the conversation right now. Got to turn it around here on the road and start to make some things happen. But boosting your personnel with a guy like Sidibe goes a long way.
Again, the last 5 games of last season, Sidibe averaged 11 points and 12 rebounds again. And if they get anything close to that, obviously that will make them much more formidable.
Telling you, watching what the Tigers have been able to do offensively, they limit their turnovers, take better care of the basketball. It could really open this thing up in the first half. 7 first-half turnovers, but the percentages are red hot. 61% from the field, 43% from beyond the arc. You just got to be better with the ball.
Honor had to burn a timeout after getting double-teamed against the sideline with 12 seconds on the shot clock. We'll take a break, 30 seconds, be right back to Littlejohn Coliseum. And now it's time for Food Lions Food for Thought. And let's think about Nick Honor getting it done defensively. And he's been knocking down the 3 as well, Jordan.
Yeah, he's really given them a boost with the effort, and people feed off of that when you're one of the marquee players for your team. For a team that struggles to score in a half court, his shooting at about 38% from beyond the arc is huge. Against the matchup zone, you're going to have to knock down threes. Honor's ability to do it opens up a little bit more of that high post area for guys like Sims to operate.
Foul on the rebound. And Nick Honor, as mentioned, played his freshman year at Fordham University, and he was so good on the all-A10 freshman team. But during his freshman year, of course, playing in New York City, he's from Orlando. His mom back home, Carlene, suffered cardiac arrest during a basketball game that Nick's dad was coaching. That was a couple of years ago, and Nick said, you know what, I want to be closer to home. I want to be able to get home to Orlando easier than if I'm in New York City. So that was a big part of his transition and wanting to transfer, and he wound up finding a great landing spot at Clemson, Jordan.
And you like when there's the ability for things like that to resolve themselves. And the NCAA allowing moves like that to happen because it makes the most sense. He's in a place playing basketball close to his family and playing really good basketball today. He struggled since they've returned from a COVID pause in the last 3-4 games. But a confident performer out here on the floor and has been the difference here in the first stanza.
Foul before the Girard shot. It's an offensive foul against Syracuse. Well, again, you mentioned the COVID pause, Jordan, as we take another look at the foul against Sidibe, the moving screen.
That's really obvious.
Why do you think a team like Clemson struggled so much? I mean, they had a 9-1 record going into the break, and then they were largely non-competitive. It took them till their 4th game to shake off that rust.
Well, we are lucky enough, both you and I, Doug, to talk to Coach Brownell, and he made a fantastic point. One that's been minimized in talking about teams' inconsistencies is his team is in a interesting headspace. And because they're spending so much time in isolation to be able to play these games, they're getting inside their own heads a little bit. And 18 to 22-year-olds, that is incredibly natural. That's a very normal thing. So he said there's a more mental fatigue than it is a physical execution thing on the court. He's just got to get his guys as best he can to stay positive and within themselves. And that is such a huge challenge during this COVID era. So it's something all these programs are battling. Clemson has fallen to that at times this season.
Yeah, I thought Coach Brownell said it very well. He said, I don't think inconsistency is abnormal. Syracuse sophomore Quincy Guerrier from Montreal, Quebec, as is Olivier Maxence Prosper, and they had a chance to say bonjour before this afternoon's ball game. They were from the same AAU program, Brookwood Elite, up in Montreal, and you never know. Basketball is a global sport now, and we have more and more Canadians who make it into U.S. Division I college hoops.
And that was one of my coolest and most fond memories of when I played, is sharing a locker room with guys who are from all across the globe. And it made my once world that felt so small seem so big. So just another element that makes collegiate athletics so unique is the relationships you form with people from very different backgrounds of your own.
Oh, Max, a year younger than Quincy. He's come off the bench with a couple of points today for the Tigers. Guerrier, the lead scorer on the season for Syracuse so far, has just one single point. On the run, Girard had it blocked. Sims able to save it. Clemson with the basketball.
How about that effort coming flying by? Was that Hemingway? Looked like on a shot block there and saved it in play. 8 turnovers for Clemson. Got to be better with it, though. 9 now.
Yeah, the turnovers, the only thing keeping Syracuse close. The Orange with only 2 made field goals so far, and they're being badly out-rebounded 14-5.
It's a tale of 2 stories offensively. Syracuse has been better with the basketball. Only 4 turnovers for Q's here, but they can't get anything in terms of clean looks. All their points come from the free throw line. Clemson get whatever they want, just can't take care of it.
Sims blocks Guerrier, who gets it back. Shot clock at 13. Richmond, freshman from Brooklyn, New York. Crazy shot, no, he gets it back. Shot clock down to 2, and we've got a whistle and a traveling violation.
So as high as I am on Richmond, and you hear me talk about him all the time, this is the space in which he can grow. You like him being aggressive, playing downhill, trying to generate something in the painted area. But once you regain that basketball, after you've taken the first bad shot, reset, maybe try and work it to somebody else. He's been great defensively early on, generating some of the steals that have led to the tally of Clemson turnovers. Got to be better with it decision-making wise there.
Sims, no. Trapped the rebound from the weak side, kick it back out for another attempt, and this time it's a swish for Sims and give him 1,000 career points. He came into the day needing 3 to get to 1,000, so he's up to 1,002, and give him another rebound. One of the great all-around players in program history. Nick Honor just stays hot, and the Tigers are pouring it on. The Orange has to burn another timeout, down by 15 with under 6 minutes remaining in the half, Jordan.
Clemson's put together a nice one. Defensively, it's been a masterful performance 15 minutes into this game from the Tigers. Pressure everywhere, contesting shots, doing the job, making it one and done, getting that thing and running. The difference offensively for the Tigers, they are seeing that ball go in the basket from beyond the arc. Look no further than Nick Honor, 4 of 5 from 3. As a team, 5 of 10 there. They are getting the shots in this zone from the perimeter, not even necessarily having to attack on the inside, but finding balance in in both sides of it. When Clemson can score it with how they defend, they become one of the top-notch teams in this conference, and they're putting it together right now.
They're putting on a show for the crowd of 1,876 allowed into Littlejohn. The regular capacity, of course, is over 10,000, but they are able to put nearly 2,000 in. This would be their 7th sellout of this season.
Look at how Hemingway fights over the screen there to continue that pressure on Boeheim. It's those extra efforts, fighting through screens. Weak side help. Can you grab the rebound?
Syracuse will keep it with 20 on the shot clock.
It's fun to watch, though. They're really working this Tigers defense. I mean, they are fighting through screens. They're not giving up on anything. It's been all effort and energy that's been the reason for this pressure and the reason for the Orange struggles offensively.
Yeah, they like to call it Clemson grit. And Syracuse certainly is feeling that. Foul given will send Guerrier to the free throw line. There you see the senior guiding the freshman. And so Guerrier will shoot 2. We'll have a great women's basketball rivalry matchup tomorrow afternoon, 2 Eastern. Number 4 NC State and North Carolina in Chapel Hill. The Wolfpack coming off a huge win Monday night against number 1 undefeated Louisville. This game is right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. Sims,
great look from Sims.
Cross-court Hemingway, yes. Dolezaj the rebound.
That's why it's so important to get Sims the touches at the high post, because he's such a great decision maker with distributing that thing or attacking to pursue 2 points. You want him to make a lot of decisions here to close this first half out.
Richmond fouled as he worked the baseline. Clemson's also done a nice job, Jordan, getting back, not allowing any transition opportunities for Syracuse.
They want to make Syracuse work in a half court because they believe with the pressure they're applying, their ability to stay in front of guys, they can make it a long afternoon for the Orange there. So it behooves both teams to take away early offense and try and make them work in a half court, because no matter how strong Clemson has been shooting it, percentages aren't in the favor of the Tigers to continue this for 40 minutes.
Syracuse is only 2 for 17 shooting the basketball from the floor today. And they're going against, obviously, one of the better defenses in the ACC.
We discussed what kind of game is desirable in the approach for these two teams. Syracuse wanted to play this one in the 70s. Clemson wanted to keep it hovering around the 50s. Clemson is on track to score well past 50, but their opposition in Syracuse ain't close to sniffing it. So this is exactly the type of game in terms of scoring and pace that the Tigers wanted it to be played at.
John Newman back in the lineup here this afternoon. Misfired from 3 and a foul on the rebound.
Driving coach crazy. I mean, that is just intestinal fortitude. That is the fight and effort. This is volleyball the Tigers are playing. Newman goes up with it, and then it's just Hall with the first effort. Couldn't get it to go. Too many guys watching, not getting bodies on guys for that Syracuse interior. Ultimately, Sims has a go of it at the charity stripe.
Coach Boeheim has brought in 6'8" freshman Woody Newton, who has had 4 consecutive DNP coaches' decisions to try and find somebody to bring that energy. .7 rebounds for Amir Sims, the senior from Palmyra, Virginia, out of the Blue Ridge School. His mama Tisha wouldn't let him play if his grades weren't good. And Amir has done that in high school. He's an excellent student in college as well.
7-7. I haven't had one of those since college.
Dolezaj's been quiet. Off the spin, too strong. Guerrier offensive rebound. And he lays it in.
Guerrier does that work on the backboard. Double-figure rebounder. Provides energy on every play. Can they start to get some inside the arc with some gritty plays like that to take a page out of the Tigers' playbook?
Yeah, Guerrier's 8th in the ACC in scoring, 2nd in rebounding, behind only Mr. Champagny at Pittsburgh. Sims off the terrific feed lays it in. Trapp with the assist.
That was a beautiful delivery from Clyde Trapp. Electing not to go with the chest pass, but the bounce pass. But as a receiver, Sims putting himself in position to succeed. Great synergy between guard and forward.
This is Woody Newton.
These guys are working with the ball. I mean, defensively, not giving up any advantage, making them meet a chest on any type of drive.
I think Sims may have gotten a
watch.
piece. Shot clock violation will give it back to Clemson as we head to break.
Zone right in the mid-post area, 2-5 for 2.
ACC Network Basketball is brought to you by Zaxby's. Hand-breaded chicken and fresh ingredients made to order only at Zaxby's. In Tuesday's win over North Carolina, Clyde Trapp was outstanding. 14 points, 9 rebounds against the Tar Heels, but he's getting it done in a different fashion against Syracuse so far this afternoon. That's a career-high 7 assists, and we're not even Jordan to halftime.
And Doug, even better, 1 turnover to those 7 assists. That's a ratio that'll make any coach on the sidelines giddy. Decision-making from your backcourt is imperative when you face this zone from Syracuse, and the decision-making from Agent Zero has been phenomenal to start this game, put his teammates in positions to make scoring plays.
And he brings a physicality on the defensive end that's so valuable for Coach Brownell. He talked yesterday to us in our visit, as Sims knocks down the mid-range, that he could use Trapp either on Boeheim, he could use him on Griffin. Whatever he's been doing, it's been working.
Yeah, and also how Clemson's been using Sims against this zone. He's popping up at the top. We've seen him at that short corner. We've seen him at the high post. At every spot, he's been efficient and productive.
Boeheim the takeaway. Newton turns and shoots, misses badly. Clemson by 16 with the basketball as today's telecast is presented by Food Lion. Corner 3 a little short. Richmond clears the miss from Prosper.
But you hear and you see visually pointing, communicating from the Tigers as they get back defensively. They don't want to give up any advantages in the transition game. That is a connected defensive group, pointing at the ball, talking through assignments, so nobody gets lost in a shuffle and they give up any easy ones. They're going to force the Orange to work.
And Sims is just tearing apart from the mid-range that Syracuse zone.
Taylor made to beat it, set it in the open coming in. Hasn't historically had any big games, hasn't notched double figures in the last 4 outings versus the Orange. But in this one, primed and ready with where his game has evolved to, and he has been massive for the Tigers.
Yeah, preseason first-team All-ACC, and while his stats don't jump off the page at you, averaging just over 12 points per game, if you know the game and you watch Clemson play, you understand why he's an all-conference player.
Clemson's really battled on a backboard, too. I mean, this is not an elite rebounding team.
Honor with a rare miss. And the save to Trapp. Back over to Honor. Great hustle by Clemson.
The defense better extend out to Honor. I mean, he is red hot.
There's Sims again carving up the defense. As the center came out to defend him, he found the cutter along the baseline. But the foul will send the Orange to the free throw, or rather Clemson to the free throw line.
And it's a snap decision making from Sims, the leader of this team, the facilitator he is. When he catches, he knew short corner was pulling like a string. Catch, bounce pass, scoring opportunity from the free throw line.
Nothing but net every Sunday is our weekly basketball studio show. Tune in. That's tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. John Newman makes it a 20-point Clemson lead. Final minute of the first half from Littlejohn Coliseum. Dolezaj fouled.
Doug, it's a team in Clemson that leads with defense, and it's ball pressure. Look at Buddy Boeheim trying to do what he does, get into the painted area, find an advantage. Clyde Trapp working with him the entire way, made him meet a chest, gave him a difficult angle. And then it's all about punctuating defensive effort by rebounding the basketball, taking it the other way. From start to finish, soup to nuts, Clemson putting together defensive sequences and closing it out with the defensive rebound.
Dolezaj with his first point of the afternoon. Keep in mind, this is a Clemson team that in the early season when they won 9 of 10, they beat power conference opponents Mississippi State, Purdue, Maryland, Alabama, and then in conference, Florida State and Louisville. They've got a really nice resume, and they are back to playing that type of basketball right now, Jordan.
Yeah, and it's a confident group. Can you put it together for 40? You don't want to go into the locker room too high, or you may experience some new lows in the second half. So staying focused and staying to the blueprint that has worked here in the first 20.
Dolezaj got caught in the air and fouled Jonathan Baer.
I mean, we know what that benchmark is. If the opponent versus Clemson doesn't get to 50 or above, those rock fights always benefit a Clemson Tiger team that in the last 50 matchups that have played like that are 48-2. So Clemson is tracking the type of game in precisely the position they want it.
And as always, deep into the bench for Clemson, 6 reserves have gotten in. So in the first half, 11 different players. They don't have anybody playing 37, 38 minutes a game. So when you're out there, Coach Brownell expects you to go hard, and you have the ability to do that.
I mean, Coach Brownell, he's not stupid. He sees what's working down there in Tallahassee with Coach Leonard Hamilton's squad. Play a lot of bodies at a high level, max them out, get amplified performance, and wear down the opposition with energy, effort, and productivity. And that's what's happening for the Tigers here.
Syracuse comes into this with all 5 of its starters averaging double figures. They have a couple of guys who have reached 5. And that is it, being held to only 3 made field goals in the first half.
Yeah, that effort, it starts with defense. And when the Tigers get the added benefit of offense going as well, they're poor, these Tigers, defending the three-point line. It's really hurt them, allowing the opposition to shoot 35%. 1 of 6 from 3 are the Orange. All around great performance from the Tigers.
19 is a season low for Syracuse in any half. They trail by 20. Back with our halftime after this. We welcome you back to the ACC Network, presented by Food Lion. With Jordan Cornette, I'm Doug Sherman. Clemson leads Syracuse by 20 at the intermission. They've been led by the outside shooting of Nick Honor, who was near perfect in the first 20 minutes, Jordan.
Yeah, and that set the tone offensively for a confident bunch on that side of the court. Early offense, spot-up shooter shoots 38% from 3. Those are always going to be dangerous. He's feeling it from the corner, and they were locating their guy. But once you hit a few, there's got to be a sense of urgency within the zone for those wing defenders to close out, put a little bit more heat on him. 4 of 6 from 3. He really capitalized on the opportunities. Amir Sims, balance, did it in every facet of the game. He left his mark and had an impact in the first 20. On the backboard, he's the heart and soul of this team. So defensively, they take cues from his effort. He gave you that. A versatile piece, a jack of all trades, can step back beyond the arc. But again, not giving up on plays, setting the tone for his team as a leader. I mean, we got more plays? Okay, that's what he does. I mean, Amir Sims finding himself at that short corner. Then Clyde Trapp, let's not forget about Trapp, 7 assists in that first half, setting Sims up there. Sims put it all together, and that's the type of player he is to this Clemson ball club.
13 points for Sims, 12 for Honor, leading by 20 as we head to the second half. The Orange will have the basketball first to start this second half. Joe Girard III with Buddy Boeheim, Alan Griffin, Quincy Guerrier, and Marek Dolezaj with the basketball now. Griffin And the long rebound goes out of bounds.
Struggles from three continue. There's a settling going on from the Orange. And now 1 of 7 from three, and that's not the first possession to set a tone for your team as you look to climb back that you want to take in that first possession.
From the soft spot of that zone, once again turning and shooting. This time it's Hunter Tyson. Chance for a three-point play for Syracuse.
This is what I talk about. If you got to have aggressive defense, meet it with some aggression of your own. Girard, a very skilled scorer. We know about his history coming out of high school, holding his record as a scoring champ in New York State history. Second season, more plays like that, understanding your ability, driving that basketball, get that defender on your hip.
Syracuse does not have a great history in this building. Now, they haven't been conference rivals for that long, but in the first 5 trips to Littlejohn, Syracuse has lost 4 of them.
You see how they're higher out on Nick Honor now. Girard very well aware of the danger Honor presents. Good closeout, good contest.
Griffin down the lane, tries to shovel it off to Guerrier, who fumbles it. It goes out of bounds. Syracuse will keep. And they did reset the shot clock, which had been put back to 30. It is indeed 17 seconds because Clemson never did secure possession. Girard gets it back. No. Sims making sure there's no second attempt.
And those rebounds in traffic go a long way. They are statements. Statements to the opposition, like, you get one opportunity at this, then we're going to go play basketball on the other side. There will be no bully ball and second chance opportunities. Tigers have done a phenomenal job eliminating those.
Hemingway has his pass kicked by Boeheim. So with the shot clock at 20, Clemson will inbound from the sideline. Another deflection. This time Griffin knocks it out of bounds. Coming up next, we'll have college lacrosse at 4 o'clock, and then back to the hardwood at 8 o'clock Eastern. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, right here on ACCN and the ESPN app. Tough pass, knocked away by Littlejohn. Griffin, the crossover, and the layup.
And if you're Clemson, you can't get away from what you did in the first half, being the aggressor. Just because you have this cushion, you can't be clock watchers and play not to lose the game. Got to maintain that aggressive nature because Syracuse is out here competing out of the gate.
Hemingway, no. Fight for the ball comes to Littlejohn. Boeheim's pass deflected away. On the takeaway, Hemingway has it blocked by Boeheim. The Tigers will keep along the baseline.
Looks like Brunell wanted some contact there. I don't know. It looked like it was all basketball to me. I kind of like the no call. As a former shot blocker, I always like when the shot blocker gets the benefit of a whistle there.
I guess this is my cue to mention that you're the all-time shot block leader in Notre Dame history.
Couple ticks too late, Doug, but you still got it in there. It's all I got, man. It's literally all I have.
Well, it's one more than the Fonz has, so good for you.
Fonz has everything else in this world, so I think for me to have that humbling stat to myself is one, but that's Big Brother. Everything he does is gold.
Absolutely. Guerrier's layup makes it 44-25. We barely mentioned Hunter Tyson today. He was so good, especially in the second half in the win on Tuesday over North Carolina. I mean, he was truly the star coming down the stretch. All 16 of his points coming in the second half, including the last 9. He was throwing dunks down. He was drawing charges at the other end. He was so good in spite of having to wear that face mask.
Yeah, I mean, 16 points, all of them coming in that second half. He was aggressive. He has a unique skill set with his size, length, and it's not a sneaky athleticism. It's just an athleticism. And he found some confidence there, hasn't blended over and translated into a lot of productivity here in this one, but it hasn't needed to because of the elite performances of 3 of his other teammates in that first half.
And we talk about the pauses for COVID. He had to miss 5 games because of the facial fracture suffered. So he's also not at necessarily 100%. Couple of attempts there for the Orange. Clemson with it, up by 20. Here's Clyde Trapp already with a career-high 7 assists in this one. He's in the backcourt with Alamir Dawes. Trapp attacks, finds the open man. Hemingway for 3.
Clyde Trapp made the whole thing happen. Gets into the painted area, defense, ball watching, kicks out to a shooter. Beautiful sequence for the Tigers.
Boeheim, I think he might have had it blocked by Trapp. Dolezaj gets the whistle, and he'll shoot a pair of free throws.
Doug, you know about being a setup man, putting me in positions to sound like a capable broadcaster. I'm still working on it. But Trapp gets into the painted area, kicks it out to Hemingway, and he writes a beauty.
And not normally is that game so important for both sides just trying to get into the NCAA tournament, but certainly Mike Krzyzewski's been down all of these roads before. He and his good friend Jim Boeheim, who together helped win 3 gold medals at the Olympics. Boeheim as an assistant to Krzyzewski, the 2 winningest Division I men's coaches in college basketball history. But Coach Boeheim, he and his team have had no answers so far here today, Jordan.
And the three-point line has been a complete non-factor. 1 of 9 from threes, this Syracuse team. They've been run off the line. They've either been contested shots. Second chance has been taken away from this team. And quite frankly, any driving lanes or advantages on the offensive side.
Dawes drains the 3. He's on the board, and Clemson just keeps pouring it on. And give a 10th assist to Clyde Trapp. Gerard. Well, the road has not been kind to Syracuse in ACC play. I mean, and they've been on the wrong side of some blowouts more than once so far. Since mid-January, lost at North Carolina, blown out at Pittsburgh, blown out at Virginia, and then this one here today. And I was somebody who thought coming into the year, Jordan, that home court advantage wouldn't be nearly as big a deal this season without the customary crowds as Sims connects. But in looking at ACC teams in conference play, home teams are winning 70% of the time, and it's the highest rate in 18 years. So really there does seem to be something about still having a home court advantage.
Yeah, it's just a comfort with the surroundings and the environment and the rims. I mean, players are very specific about those type of things. But Clyde Trapp, I mean, you talk about what Sims is bringing, what Honor's bringing. It's not a highlight pass, but it's a winning pass from Trapp to set up Alamir Dawes to knock down the 3 and give him 10 assists on the day to 2 turnovers. 5-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio is a beautiful thing.
Griffin will head to the free throw line.
But Doug, going back to it, I mean, it's a Syracuse team that's so gifted offensively, and we talked about the defensive numbers still being pretty good for the Syracuse team despite all the criticism the zone has taken on. But what you are seeing with the Syracuse team in the theme of losses is if the shots aren't falling, they're lacking in the effort in other ways to climb and claw their way back into winning these games. It feels like it needs to be a pretty offensive performance for them to feel comfortable in putting it all together and earn a win.
Today's telecast is presented by Food Lion. With Jordan Cornette, I'm Doug Sherman. Littlejohn Coliseum, Clemson, South Carolina. The Tigers jumped out to a double-figure lead almost immediately, and Syracuse has not been able to make a push at all. Jonathan Bear back into the game, facing the Syracuse pressure. Dawes into the front court.
Impressive ball handling skills here in that sequence to avoid pressure and a turnover. I play right through Sims again. Let him make a decision, or heck, 10 assists and 2 turnovers. Clyde Trapp as well. The broadcaster jinx. Third turnover for him.
You know, turnovers were a problem in the first 10-12 minutes for Clemson, but they've been pretty clean ever since. Gerard, no. Rebound will stay with Syracuse. I'd love to be able to better quantify how good Amir Sims is. Stats just don't do him justice. He is such a winning ball player, Jordan.
Because he does everything, literally everything on the floor. He can guard 1 through 5. He's an offensive rebounder that generates second chance. He's great at defensive rebounding. Could start the break himself with his skill with the basketball. He's unselfish, so he's a great passer. And he's a shot maker from all 3 levels. What else could you want in a player? I mean, there was a lot of preseason buzz about could he be the player of the year in the conference. He won't achieve that. But if I'm putting together a 5, I'm really considering and putting him on that list because of the boxes that he checks.
Well, he takes a seat with 3 personal fouls, a game-high 15 points. He reached 1,000 career points in the first half here today. Here's Trapp. Clemson in no hurry. Trapp, long 3, no. Bounces out of bounds into the corner to Syracuse. And so now Clyde Trapp will take a seat. He's the man who beat Syracuse in their matchup here last year with a layup in the closing seconds. We're not headed for that sort of drama here today, Jordan.
I got to say, and watching Syracuse, as Gerard maybe gives him a little bit of life from 3 with that shot, I had the benefit of calling Syracuse first game last season open up against Virginia. And then they started the season, if you recall, with conference play. And in that game, I ain't seen 2 teams look worse offensively, most especially Syracuse. And this kind of rivals what I saw in that first game of the season a year ago. Just no solution, no individual stepping up, making plays offensively. A group that's just been flat on both sides and can't get anything going. And have been just without solutions for what's going on now, 28 minutes of play.
Yeah, I agree. That game you're talking about was the season opener, the debut on ACC Network, and Virginia just completely throttled Syracuse that night, much in the same fashion Clemson has here this afternoon. P.J. Hall on the turnaround. Easy when there's no hand in your face. 58-33. Dolezaj gets the whistle. Did they count the basket? We'll step away with a timeout on the floor. All Clemson at Littlejohn. We'll have a great women's basketball rivalry matchup tomorrow, 2 o'clock Eastern. Number 4 North Carolina State against North Carolina. The Wolfpack coming off their huge win over previously undefeated number 1 Louisville. This game is right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. Syracuse trying to get the offense going here, Jordan.
And if you're going to look for toughness, you're going to look for 21 Dolezaj to try and give you something. Great finish with the offhand there and playing through the contact. He's one of the more enjoyable players for me to watch in this conference just because of how he's able to max out with his build. I mean, he's got a way sopping wet, 190. I don't care what he's measured at. Listed at 6'10", but he fights and he competes and he never gives up on a play. Maybe that can give this team a little bit of a fight because there's still a lot of game left. You can't look at the scoreboard. You just got to keep your head down, try and make some winning plays and put it together.
Syracuse full court pressure, trying to turn over the Tigers. Got to get it over the line in 2. And apparently they did not. The ball was not secured in the front court, and Jamie Luckey says that is a 10-second violation.
Wow.
It's actually nice to hear some boos. You know, we have too many games without fans. It's fantastic to hear at least some of the crowd who were allowed in, 1,876, letting the officials know how they think.
About the officials, if anybody's enjoying the no fans, it probably have to be officials, right? Like at least they don't have to be the bad guy in front of tens of thousands anymore for right now. It's coming back, though.
You would know this. Well, here's the 10-second count that got a few boo birds. But from your playing days at Notre Dame, in front of a packed house, say you're playing at the Carrier Dome with 25,000, how much in terms of individual voices from the stands could you hear on the floor?
You don't hear any of them once the game starts, and most people will tell you that. It's in the layup lines in pregame or in the huddles, and even in the huddles you don't really hear it. It's more the lead up to the game when they're chanting your girlfriend's name or saying something about your family, but you fade it out once the game starts up. And again, Littlejohn making something happen.
Syracuse students would never do such things you've just accused them of. Timeout here in Clemson. There's a look at our control room just across the street from Littlejohn. Our producer Rick Bagby and the guys doing a great job. I can tell you everybody's smiling underneath their masks over there.
Yeah, they're going to want you back.
Thank you, guys.
They might actually want me back, too, if this is how it's going to play for Tigers folk.
Absolutely. The Tigers blowing out the orange this afternoon. It's been 20 pretty much from the start. With former Golden Domer Jordan Cornette, I'm Doug Sherman. And Clemson has played just about as well as you could imagine. We have seen them put up some really good performances this year, and they seem to be rounding back into that here as we get into February.
You know, and I got to give credit to a Syracuse team that it was lopsided in that first half. It's been an even competition here in the second half. Hadn't been pretty at times, but at least you're seeing more of a fight on both sides of the ball, both sides of the court for the Syracuse team coming out, as it's been knotted up at 19 competitively here in the second stanza.
Here's Clyde Trapp with his 10 assists. Shot clock down to 6. Trapp attacks. Off the window, no. Guerrier seemed to take a shot to the face, but he's all right. Gerard from the paw. Front rimmed it. Big rebound by Bear. Clemson still dominating on the glass, 32-20. From the high post, turnaround off the mark by Newman. Griffin hands it off. Boeheim misfired.
Boeheim continues to struggle. Had a little bit of a breakout game last time out, but for the last stretch of 3-4 games, he has just not been able to find the stroke from beyond the arc, and it's kind of plagued him all season. For as good a performer, as skilled as he is, just can't find consistency beyond the arc.
Hall throws it down. Yeah, Boeheim on the year shooting just a touch under 30%, which is really hard to believe for as good a shooter as he is. He's missed 3 out of his 4 from beyond the arc this afternoon.
And he's one of the most talented offensive players in this conference. So in a lot of ways, it's an anomaly, a little bit of a head scratcher that the percentages are what they are, but he's still capable of those 20-point games, and the proof is in the pudding. That stroke is pure from Buddy Boeheim. I still love watching that young man shoot the basketball.
Well, remember, he had 18 points in the first half against Carolina this year, and then he had the amazing second half against Georgetown last year where Buddy scored 25 points. So you're right, Jordan. He can still light it up in a hurry. John Newman with a bucket. Good to see him back in the lineup this afternoon for Coach Brownell. Boeheim, tough shot. No. Guerrier pulls it away from the crowd and sticks it in.
Pressure, got to move it.
There's the trap on Bear. Clemson will keep on the sideline.
You talk about how good Clemson has been, and you don't like the 14 turnovers with still 8 minutes left to play. But you got to love when you talk about being connected and finding balance, finding a groove offensively. 17 assists for the Tigers on 22 made field goals. That is a synergy amongst the five on the floor where you are playing off of each other and making efficient plays. It's got to be better with the basketball. That's something you definitely want to shore up. Uncharacteristic to have this high of a turnover tally at this point in the game.
Trap against the corner. Clemson tries to make and pay with the extra pass. Got a good look. Blocked at the rim. Good recovery by Syracuse to make sure Olivier Maxence Prosper didn't throw it down.
Talk about those assists and moving the basketball. A bounce pass to the mid-post. Hall, take another look. The Hall hammer.
Here's what's to come for the Clemson Tigers. 3 of their next 4 will be on the road, Jordan.
Yeah, and you look at it, you don't see any ranked teams there, so you say, oh, that should be 4 wins. No. Not with how this conference plays. Georgia Tech's got as talented a starting 5 as any in the conference. Notre Dame's playing some of their best basketball still. Haven't knocked off a ranked team in quite a while. I think 29 now they've gone with L's there, but winners of 5 of their last 6. Pitt, when Xavier Johnson is playing like he is, and Justin Champagnie, who's a true Conference Player of the Year candidate, those will be 3 challenges in front of them.
At the start of the day, Joe Lunardi had Clemson in the field of 68 as a 10 seed. And certainly that will be aided perhaps today by their performance against Syracuse at the rate it's going. Trap couldn't bank it in. Syracuse with a basketball. Boeheim around and out. And the rebound grab by Newman. Able to get away from the pressure. Trap. Would have been an and 1 and an 11th assist, but as it turns out, it will be Mr. Sims going to the free throw line to shoot a pair.
Still such a strong sequence. Yes, he didn't get the finish, so he didn't get the assist. But to see how Clyde Trapp is identifying the advantage, making the proper decision, and in the open floor you see somebody make mistakes there. Trapp has been on his game this afternoon.
Trapp, a 6'4" senior from Eastover, South Carolina. He says, quote, "I'm just a country boy at heart. Eastover's population only 749 people. About 2.5 hours southeast of Clemson, having one of his better games here this afternoon." And he's a guy, Jordan, who didn't have a Division I scholarship offer until his senior year, playing in a small school, and he developed a little bit later than others, and he's a valuable piece for Coach Brownell.
That's why it's never about the rankings, Doug. It's about who's going to work at it to get better and improve in their craft. Doesn't matter what kind of prospect you were. It's what kind of work ethic do you have, and do you fit on the right pieces in the team. What an effort there defensively from Newman. I've seen more shots, jumpers blocked from this Clemson defense in this game. You can go a string of games watching and never see that. That speaks to the effort on a jump shot, still attacking it aggressively to make a defensive play.
And with that aggression, they still haven't had largely any foul trouble. Sims has 3, but as a team here in the second half, only 6 fouls for Clemson. Little hesitation by Richmond. Nice job defensively by the Tigers. Boeheim. Today's telecast is presented by Food Lion. Honor. He has not cooled off in spite of not shooting here in the second half.
as important as it is, obviously, to win a conference game and win it convincingly if they hold court here in a miracle withstanding. But for Clemson, this is big for their confidence. You beat Carolina. You come out and you look like this. For a team that got knocked down on that COVID pause, putting together some momentum and consistency for a team that is one of the better ones in the ACC, this goes a long way for this group, because I believe it's more mental than anything with this Tigers team and why they've been knocked back a peg, but they're starting to regain it all.
Coming up, Nothing But Net. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, we'll preview the week and look back at the best games from the last week with highlights, analysis, and insight that only we can provide. It's 11 a.m. tomorrow on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Yeah, they certainly do seem to have that swagger back, you know, and they seem to get it when they had a few days to finally practice before the Louisville game, and that's when they recalibrated and got themselves back with that edge, I think, Jordan.
Yeah, and they got great guard play. I mean, Trapp gives you the 11 assists. He started to tally a couple late turnovers here, but when it really mattered, he was taking great care of it and delivering it at a ridiculous clip. And then you got the three-point shooting of Nick Honor, a guy who's back in double figures for the first time in 5 games. You know what you're going to get with Sims. When he gets effort from that, from guys around him, they're suddenly dangerous again.
Gerard from the lane. He's got 9 points, as does Griffin to lead all Syracuse scorers. Sidibe commits the foul.
And we talk about that guard play, Doug. It's right here. Fake the pass. Defense still not a sense of urgency against a guy who's knocked down before that one. 4 threes, giving him his 5th. And confident shooting, seeing the ball go in the basket. You know when you face Clemson, they're going to guard the heck out of you. They're going to apply pressure. They're going to make it a rock fight. But they're scoring at this clip, too. They're a tough out.
Nick Honor gets a break. I got a kick out of Coach Brownell telling us the other day that I wasn't smart enough to offer him a scholarship coming out of high school. They recruited him. They knew who he was. But they were worried more about some of the measurables, that he's not the tallest guy or the fastest guy. But they were convinced once he went to Fordham and was so good that it would translate to the ACC, and it certainly has. Chance for 3 on the made bucket by Prosper.
Again, just beautiful execution. Threading the needle, Newman. Just receivers carving out real estate, making themselves targets, and making a quick decision with the basketball. This zone has looked awfully porous today from Syracuse.
Hey, Jordan, you think our friend Craig Mobley, Clemson class of 73, who joined us from Southern California in the first half, is enjoying this one today?
A man of his importance, if he can find the time to make sure he watches these games, clearly it goes a long way in the effort for these Tigers. He's making them proud, no question.
Timeout with his Clemson Tigers up 70-48. ACC Network Basketball is presented by Food Lion, official grocer of the ACC. And now for today's player of the game, brought to you by Zaxby's. It's the 6'8" senior from Palmyra, Virginia, Amir Sims.
The heart and soul of this team. The team takes cues from him, and it's no surprise when he had a complete performance like this. So did the Clemson Tigers. Battling defensively, competing on the backboard, generating second chance, and his skill as a guy who can produce offensively because of the pieces and places you can put him to produce offense, and he did it against this zone, carving out space, finding opportunities to score the ball. 16 and 10, and the clock's still ticking. Amir Sims has been sublime.
Our Zaxby's player of the game. Okay, Jordan, I'll put you on the spot with about a month to go in the regular season. Is he going to be on the first team All-ACC squad?
he's got a real shot. If he continues, and this is not a sellout answer, he kind of had a couple games that were lacking. If he can go on a stretch run here and put together games like this, with the respect he gets from this league and the player he's been for Clemson, Clemson has to generate wins down that stretch. He very well could be.
Double dribble against Syracuse. Do you have any locks on that ACC first team yet?
I don't think there's anybody you could call lock outside of Justin Champagnie at this point. I think that's tough. Jay Huff is a guy who's had a really good season at Virginia. Those are two guys I lock in on right away. Matthew Hurts really scored the ball at a high clip. I voted him preseason to be on that list. You could probably put him on. But in terms of guarantees.
Jones.
Yeah,
Carlik Jones.
How could you forget Carlik Jones? Absolutely.
And I think MJ Walker still got a shot. I mean, there's a long list.
MJ struggled, though, Doug, these last 3 games for Florida State, averaging under double figures, but he's a heck of a talent. And I know down there at Florida State, they don't care about the individual awards, just putting together as a team and winning games. But Carlik Jones,
we've seen that for years.
Yeah, Carlik Jones is a glaring omission. He absolutely is probably a shoe-in. He's in that Player of the Year conversation.
No doubt, no doubt. There's Kadari Richmond, the promising freshman guard for Syracuse out of Brooklyn, the latest in a long line of New York City point guards to play for Jim Boeheim, going all the way back to Fast Eddie Moss in the late 70s. And, of course, Pearl Washington and Alan Griffin, who's on staff now. Adrian Autry as well, another native New Yorker. But we've not really seen Kadari Richmond be able to put his imprint on this game as we have in so many games this year. I mean, last time out for Syracuse, in only 16 minutes, Richmond scored 14 points on 6 of 7 shooting, and most of those were at the rim. There's Sims again. Gerard. And Sims just keeps adding to his totals. A game-high 18 points. He's got another double-double, his 11th rebound. And the throwdown at the other end.
This looks like the Clemson team that started the season 9-1. This is the kind of performances that they were having, and the offense is surging this afternoon.
Gerard fouled on the jump shot.
I mean, just no real commitment to the basketball from the Syracuse team. Dump off in the open floor, proper decision being made, but there's no pressure that allows for that high percentage opportunity.
And so now a season high 19 assists for Clemson, including those 11 by Clyde Trapp. So at the line, last year's ACC free throw champion. He was a little better last year, Joe Girard, than this year at 84%. Still an excellent number, makes the first. Keep in mind, Syracuse had a total of 3 made field goals in the first half. That man, Nick Honor, had more three-pointers in the first half by himself.
If you're going to glean positive as an Orange fan, you look at being outscored 39-19 in the first half. Your offense only generates 19. In the second half, you put up 34 points, and it's been a completely even second half. Of course, it's still going to be a loss, and a loss you can't afford with so little time left in the season as you're trying to just enter the conversation, have a chance at the postseason because you're so far out of it right now. But at least there was a response competitively from the Orange in the second half.
And from here, Syracuse, who began the day, according to Joe Lunardi, 9 spots out of the NCAA tournament. They're going to have to play at North Carolina State Tuesday and then home to the Carrier Dome next Saturday to face Boston College. Then on the road at Louisville, home against Notre Dame. There are opportunities, but we only have about a month to go. Alamir Dawes connects on the second. 76-54, Clemson. Clemson led at halftime, 39-19, the most points they've scored in a half in the first half this year. Gerard now with a team-high 17 points. Sims, Prosper on the reverse. The freshman from Montreal having himself a nice game.
Getting some really good minutes for this team as well.
9 points, 5 rebounds for Omax. Dolajai with the layup. And the folks in attendance, over 1,800 allowed, are showing their appreciation for the Clemson Tigers closing in on a 12th win of the season. Richmond the steal, and he is fouled by Clyde Trapp.
They're called flagrant there, impeding the inevitable 2 on the other side, as there's just an obvious grab of what would seem like a hand or an arm before it went the other way. So opportunity to lessen the gap and make it look less lopsided. But regardless, this has been a, from start to finish, dominant performance from Clemson for 40 minutes.
So would you say, Jordan, you think Clemson is all the way back to where we saw them before the COVID pause?
It wasn't pretty versus North Carolina, but the toughness, the fight, taking away the identity of who Carolina is, not allowing second chance and them being productive on the inside was impressive. This game right here, this is the Clemson team I saw at the beginning of the season. But again, you want to strive for some sort of consistency before you believe that. I know Coach Brownell is going to caution his guys to not get big and fat on believing that they're that kind of team just because they've done this for 2 games in a row, most especially today. This is a very good sign for a team discovering that confidence again, because, again, I think it's more mental than anything for Clemson.
Yeah, we said the quote that Coach Brownell in our visit yesterday earlier in the broadcast, but I want to say it again. Coach Brownell says, I don't think inconsistency is abnormal. And I think he was talking about, it's just college athletes, whether it's a pandemic year, a COVID year, or just in general, it is hard to be consistent for a 4-month basketball season.
And it's hard to win a conference game in whatever conference, especially a conference like the ACC. I mean, people know your tendencies. There's a familiarity there. There's a grind that comes with the season. Teams are going to get clipped. The dominant ones are going to push through. Gonzaga, obviously, in their conference, but what Baylor has been, those 2 teams have that consistency. Outside of that, it's lawlessness. But today, Clemson got it done big time.
They take the shot clock violation, and we'll give it back to Syracuse one final time.
Dawes didn't want the turnover. He said, let me take the shot, coach.
Dolajai sets the basketball down, and that'll do it. All Clemson today, 78-61 the final.
Did everything they needed to in this one, Doug. Started and led with defense, pressure, energy, and effort. Saw shots falling for them. Were sharing the ball, limited their turnovers, and defended the 3. Great 40 minutes for the Clemson Tigers.
Amir Sims, our Zaxby's player of the game, 18 points, 11 rebounds. Clemson improves to 12-5 overall. We send you now to men's lacrosse in the ACC. Robert Morris and Duke. Here's Anish Shroff in Durham, North Carolina.